Hello and thank you for joining me on the Paperroses channel. I made another 9 by 12 layout, and I made it using this sketch, and it's from the Stock Sketches blog. I didn't really look for a sketch, but I saw a layout which I really liked. I'm not sure completely who made it, but excuse me. When I looked further, it said that it was made using the Stock Sketches sketch, and I thought, well, why not? Sometimes you just need a sketch, and it was really nice to use a sketch again. Um, I don't usually use a lot of sketches. I usually use just inspiration by other scrapbookers. So I just look at a layout and I get inspired, or I try to lift a layout. That's usually the way it goes, with me at least. So I use a lot of Pinterest, and I follow a lot of other scrapbookers in the world. I have a few favorite scrapbookers which always seem to make the most beautiful layouts. And when I try to lift it, it never looks the same, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to look the same, but it does the feel. It doesn't feel the same as well. So that's usually a little bit well, discouraging, I wouldn't say, but yeah, it's nice to look at others for inspiration. I use two pieces of design paper for the layering behind the picture, and I decided to go with a white background, and just to add color in the layout further on. I really struggle sometimes with the layering. It's just it's just I want to use the layers as randomly as possible, but it never works in my head. I have to make them straight, and I have to use them in a certain way that I don't know. It's complicated. I always like the really casual looking layers behind it, with the ruffled sides and everything. But when I do it, it never works out. So that's why I always go back to the straight lines and straight borders, and well, equal everywhere and everything like that. So I'm going through the 2 by 2 cards, which are also in the kit, and well, and none of them turn out on the page, but they're really nice cards. But sometimes it just doesn't fit on the page. I did also already decided that I'm going to use the doily, and I already decided that this is the way the picture is gonna be layered. So that's why I stuck at least the layers on the behind the picture, so that makes it moving around a little bit easy. And I use a border on top of the page, which you will see in a minute, because that's also what the sketch says, to use a border on top of the picture, or on top of the layout. And one of the layers on top has a scallop border. So I'm gonna go and glue this one down, which, looking back at or going further in making the layout, wasn't really the easiest or the smartest thing to do, maybe, but I did it anyways. And you will see my hand in a minute. Yeah, hi. And since I wanted the scallop border to look really not the same size as the other strip, I have to cut off a piece in a minute, and you'll see it. Now I just use the scallop punch, which is by Stampin' Up. I don't know if it's. I think it's retired. And I usually like the big scallops more, but I didn't feel like getting out my big shot and using the frame lids or the edge lids or whatever I have, and I just use it like with this punch, which is much easier. And here you can tell I glued the black and white paper down, but I wanted the scallop border to peek out underneath the uh, paper, so um, that didn't quite go too well, and I thought it was too wide now, so I have to get out my trimmer or paper cutter, and I have to cut off. I think it's about a quarter inch or something that I cut off, which is not the best thing to do when you have such a small strip that you have to cut off a piece. It's just a bit annoying, but it worked, and I can glue it down. I do use my guillotine cutters the most lately. I also have a paper trimmer by Stampin' Up, which I absolutely love, but one way or another, I just tend to use my guillotine way more lately. The guillotine, which you just saw, the big one, is by Stampin' Up, but Stampin' Up doesn't sell them quite for quite a while now. They stopped selling them, I believe, about maybe 2-3 years ago, and I got mine actually in when the retired list came out, or maybe even in clearance. I'm not sure, but I use it a lot, and it's really it's really good. For my smaller papers, I use the Tim Holtz guillotine paper cutter, and that also works really well. But the only backdrop from that is that you can't cut the 12 by 12 pieces of paper. So I always have to use a bigger cutter to cut off the big pieces, and then I usually go to the smaller cutter. I'm using the doily, which is, I believe, necessary for probably every layout I make. I just really love doilies. They give a little bit of texture. They give that really finishing touch to your layout, and I absolutely adore these. These are the Cambridge ones, and they're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful. I do have a lot of doilies, sometimes at really cheap stores where I buy them, and sometimes I buy them from different brands like Doodlebug. I don't really, I can't remember if I ever bought doilies from another brand in the scrapbook shop, but I have quite a few from Doodlebug, and I like them, but some of the colors are just not for me. So I do use a lot of black doilies, and maybe sometimes a color which really matches the line or the kit when I'm working with, because usually the color of the doilies don't match the colors of my the items where I'm working with. Like for example, a special kit or a certain line of scrapbook paper. So I have a lot of them, but I don't really use them that much, and I'm also always a little bit careful and maybe even playing safe with my layouts. I don't really mix and match a lot of different colors on my layouts. Like for example, this layout is just really calm with the blue and the black and white, and then I add color with the flowers and the butterfly. And oh, I think the butterfly doesn't end up on the layout after all. Yeah, I believe it goes. Here it goes. And also the blue one doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't. Um, much. No. Also no. Sorry. No. No more flowers. I really like the chipboards, but these are quite specific in my to my liking, a bit too specific for my liking even, because there's also like this thing in my head that tells me that for example, on this layout, I wouldn't use the cup of coffee or cup of tea, and I also wouldn't use a bird's house or something like that. So that's why I really like the chipboard. The colors are beautiful. I like the copper foiling, but I really have to make a layout using a picture where I'm drinking coffee or something like that. Otherwise, I won't use all those items. I never do in with these kinds of kits, or these kinds of lines, I never tend to use the really specific items. I am more of a general, scrapper. I scrapbook the ordinary everyday and stuff like that, but not in a specific theme. I usually do the project life with that. I mix and match my scrapbook life and my scrapbook life. That would be a nice name. Project life and scrapbook. So it's completely shuffled between on one another. And this is the final result. I added some Nuvo drops, which are the beautiful, beautiful color with glitters, and that's actually the finishing touch of my layout. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it. If you do, please give me a thumbs up or subscribe to the channel. And I hope to see you soon. Bye!